that there's different types of memory. There's declarative, which is episodic and semantic, and non-declarative, which is habits and procedures. We're going to find out that these different types of memories are stored different ways. But most, as we looked at another slide, is we saw that our memories, the structure that organizes our memories is the hippocampus, and then all of our memories are stored up in the cortex. That would be this area. But our memories are stored in neural nets. So there's a bunch of neurons, and none of the neurons are nerve cells, and none of them touch one another. And so in order to get a memory out, you must activate the exact pattern of neurons in a form of a neural net to get the memory out. For example, this is a person when they were asked to conjure up the memory of a tiger. As you can see, they don't just activate one tiny area, they activate multiple areas. So that's why it's so important with memory to be able to organize the information in a way so that you know where the exact neural network is. I would imagine that many of you could relate that on a test, all of a sudden you sit there and you say, I know that one, I know that one, I know that one, but you can't seem to find the pathway. And then when somebody says this is the answer, all of a sudden you can now access it because you found the pathway. I think this should make you understand why essay tests are usually harder than multiple choice tests, unless the multiple choice test is written in a very tricky way. With multiple choice, you have all these cues that help you be able to pick up the information and organize and stimulate where the pathway would be stored in your brain. But when you have an essay, you simply have to find the pathway yourself. Let's try a memory experiment right now. Okay, so I'm going to read off a list of words, and I'd like you to put your pencil down and just focus on the words that I'm saying to try to show you about these neural nets and the organization of memory. Here we go. Bed, rest, wake, eat, night, awake, comfort, sound, slumber, snore. Okay, now stop and write down as many words as you can remember. Okay, now my question to you is did you remember the word sound? And my next question for you is, did you remember the word sleep? Okay. I would guess that many of you did not remember the word sound, but I would guess that approximately 50% of you remembered the word sleep. And this is what I want to tell you. The word sleep was not on the list. Let me read you the list again. Bed, rest, wake, eat, night, awake, comfort, sound, slumber, snore. You could even rewind the video to re-listen to my list. But the reason why many people, about half of the people that do this experiment, will remember the word sleep is because these neural networks that are organized, that memory is organized in, they're organized by meaning. And this is why very few of you probably remembered the word sound, because sound does not go with the meaning of sleep. I mean, we can have a sound sleep, but that's not very common for people to think of that. All of the terms that center around sleep, bed, rest, wake, they're probably all organized in the same area as sleep, and since they're organized around the meaning of sleep, many of you will say that you recalled the word sleep on there, but really it was the word slumber, but they're very alike. because our memory is organized by meaning. So the neural pathways that we have here, it's structured by meaning, it's not structured by time. So when you're studying for a test, understanding how memory works, understanding that first I must pay attention, I must encode the information. Then I have to reduce the amount of stress in my life and study before I go to sleep and get adequate sleep and have adequate nutrition in order for storage to take place. But then I have to be able to retrieve it. This is why you must organize the information in a way that your brain knows how to retrieve it. So the best way to try to remember information is to usually use something called mnemonics. So this is the word mnemonics right here, Mnemonics. There's a website called Mind Tools that talks a lot about how you could use mnemonics to help you study. But I have on here, let's try a mnemonic device from our first day of lecture or our first week of lecture. We check out the letters below, B, B, C, H, P. And then I talk about, do you know that show called Cops? The theme song is bad boys, what you gonna do, what you gonna do when they comes for you. So we could look at this, Bad Boys California Highway Patrol, Cops. If we can remember Bad Boys California Highway Patrol, bad boys, what you gonna do? If we can kind of keep that song in our head, then we would have the first letter of each of the 5 schools of psychology. So then maybe if you got the first letter, then you could remember the 5 schools of psychology: biological, behaviorism, cognitive, humanistic, and psychoanalytical. Basically, by understanding that your memories are stored in meaningful neural nets, that should help you to recognize why it's so important to use little memory tricks to help you organize the information so it's easier to get out. Let's see what we have. It says, before leaving you, I would like to offer a few more insights to memory to help you study for the test. One helpful hint is to say things out loud when you're studying. When we say things out loud, we activate more parts of the brain than just reading them. In fact, when we just read the information, we're activating more like this part of the brain. But when we say things out loud, we read it from here, and then we have to activate up here, and we're activating up here. The more areas of the brain that you can activate, the stronger the pathways in the brain. It's like if there's just one pathway through the woods and you can't find that pathway, then you could get lost. But if you establish lots of different pathways throughout the brain and make lots of connections and lots of organization, then you're much less likely to get lost in the forest, and you're much more likely to be able to retrieve the information. Another tip that I'd like to give you about studying for a test is study in short but frequent intervals rather than one long session. If we go back to the brain again, the brain is an organ of the body. And so just as we can't go to the gym, well, we could go to the gym and we could work it out for 2 hours. But we'd get very tired and probably very sore, and we wouldn't go back to the gym for a while. But if we work out on our body every day for a half an hour, then we don't get so sore, we improve, we keep pushing, and we improve slowly. So when we study for our test, we should probably do that. Okay.